Hello, everybody. It's Tim here again. Here another movie review. This time for Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley. When I heard the name of this movie called Nightmare Alley, I had no knowledge of what it was about or what it was going to be. When this movie was first announced, and so I thought it was going to be like a horror flick or something, or maybe even like an anthology series or something. And then I found out it's actually a remake of an old film from like the 1940s, I think, which I've never read. Um, and I know it's based off a book as well. Both films are, and I've never read the book. I've never seen the original film. But yeah, as far as this one goes, from 1 to 4 stars, I'd give this a 2. It was okay. This is one of the weaker Guillermo del Toro movies I've seen. It's not bad. It's got some good performances. Bradley Cooper's great here, but it's only okay. The problem with this movie is, first of all, it's way too long. The movie just kind of plods along. The first act of the movie, the first half of the movie, I should say. It's more like this movie split up in almost 2 acts. The first half of the movie is pretty much at the circus with Bradley Cooper there as this mysterious stranger who gets hired by William Dafoe, and it's kind of interesting. You're kind of interested to see what's going on. He has a crush on this girl played by Rooney Mara, who does this electricity act, and he starts hooking up with her and all that and romancing her. And Ron Perlman, I guess, just doesn't trust the guy for some random reason or another. He never really says why. He's like beats the shit out of Bradley Cooper. But eventually they run off together and they go out and start doing this act or whatever, where they pretend to be where Bradley Cooper basically pretends to be like a mind reader and all that. The first whole half of the movie with the romance and him romancing her and everything is kind of sweet, but you do get the idea there's something like going on in Bradley Cooper's past and all that he's hiding away from. Later you find out that he pretty much let his father die, or killed him, I mean, by opening the window and letting him freeze to death. Because he didn't like his father. We never really get a reason why he actually wanted to kill him. I mean, like, so bad. I mean, I think the idea is that he was like neglectful, but they never really go into it. And then there's this guy. He also, when he meets at the circus, who's like got this act or whatever he does with the blonde chick from Hereditary, whose name I forgot. But yeah, and he wants to basically steal his act and his ideas. And the guy ends up like dying of like a heart problem. But later on in the movie, they kind of hint at Bradley Cooper might have actually killed him, which that kind of comes out of nowhere. The thing with Bradley Cooper's character is it's almost like they're trying to play him as this guy who could kind of go down two lanes, either positive or negative. And later on in the movie, he starts becoming more corrupted, and it just kind of gets rushed. You never really get the feeling though that this is really like a good guy. I mean, you kind of get it from when he's like romancing Rooney Mara. You get the idea that he really loves her, but at the same time, though, the way they play his characters mostly as like an asshole, like because he's scamming people and all that. Pretty much you never really see like his like it never really has like a gradual turn to where he just like gets obsessed with money and wanting more and starts like ripping off these old people and all that. It just kind of rushes into it. And like I said, the movie's too long. This story is way too basic to be this long. This would have worked better as just like an episode of a random TV show, morality show or something. And eventually, like, Rooney Mara wants to leave him. And he's like cheating on her with Kate Blanchett, who's this psychiatrist woman who just kind of gets thrust into the story. And he's using her to get information on these rich people who go to her or whatever for their sessions. And he's using that to like scam rich people out of the money, pretending like he's talking to their dead children and all that. And John Cleese is in there, and I think Mary Steenburgen, I think, maybe playing his wife. But he starts acting like he's communicating with their dead kid who can't wait to see him, and then causes her to like kill him, kill John Cleese, and then kill herself, which was kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. But I like the intention of it to show that his fake readings and stuff are causing pain and problems for people. And he's warned earlier in the movie like not to lie, basically, when he does readings and all that. But then he does anyway. But yeah, it would have been better if he was more of like a good man who was corrupted like throughout the movie, and also because you don't know his past for the most part, you're like, well, this guy's not too bad. He's just kind of an asshole, but he's not that bad. And later on, when he starts scamming people, though, you get to see him like go too far, and you're like, okay, he is pretty bad. But earlier in the movie, for the most part, you're like, well, why does Ron Perlman have such a problem with this guy? He doesn't really seem that bad. Yeah, he has a past that he's kind of hiding and all that, but doesn't really seem that bad. And Bradley Cooper's good in the role. He doesn't talk much for like the first couple minutes he's on screen. For a second, I thought he was going to be like a silent character, but eventually he does. Um, and then by the end of the movie, his wife leaves him because then one of the rich people finds out he's scamming him, and he flies off in a rage and kills the dude so he won't be exposed, and he gets to keep all the money. And Kate Blanchett, who's been in league with him or whatever, betrays him. We never found out why the psychiatrist is like crazy and is doing this, and she doesn't even want the money that they've been scamming out of these rich people together. She just wants to like expose him and get the police after him. I guess just because he's a fraud and she knows it, and so she just wants to make his life horrible for him. But there's never really any reason giving why. It never really explains why. It just happens. and he goes on the run from the cops because he's killed the dude or whatever, and he's about to kill Kate Blanchett, but he gets chased by the police. He never really like the Kate Blanchett thing. It comes out of nowhere, and there's really never any explanation for it at all. And he takes off basically, and he loses his wife, Rooney Mara. She goes back to the circus. So I guess Ron Perlman was right, even though I have no idea why he was so suspicious of this dude. And and so he's basically left with nothing. And William Dafoe was at the beginning telling him about how he gets alcoholics to be geeks or whatever and keeps them drugged up. And that's how he gets them to be geeks in the circus, which are the people that like bite the heads off chickens and shit. And he goes at the end to a random other circus where he's like pretty much down on his luck and he's starting to go crazy. And the dude's like, it's Tim Blake Nelson. He's like, the only job I got for you is to be a geek. And he's like, yes. Like he's like going crazy, you know. And so basically, it's like a fall from. It could almost be like a fall from grace story. But the guy, that the character is never really a good person because we find out he actually murdered his father. But at the same time, though, they try to play it in the movie to where he could actually go one way or another. But we never really see that. He's just kind of a when he does get exposed for the asshole he is just kind of an asshole for the rest of the movie. We never really get to see where he has his good points. Besides the fact that he does seem to generally love Rooney Mara. That's pretty much about it. And Rooney Mara does a good job here. So yeah, all in all, this almost feels like a short film stretched out way too far into a feature-length film of like over 2 hours, I believe. Way too long for such a simple story. Yeah, all in all, 2 out of 4. It's okay. An okay time waster. I would never watch this again though, just because of how long it is. But for watching it once, 2-star okay time waster. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.